President Paul Biya grants 2 separate audiences to the French ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Christophe Guilou, and the outgone Korean ambassador, Her Excellency Ryu Bok-ryol. Cooperation ties, social tensions, and human rights issues are discussed. Barring the way to COVID-19 through massive free screening of civil servants and workers in administrations, hundreds of Cameroonians grabbed the opportunity to know their status and to stop the spread of the deadly virus. The World Environment Day is celebrated with rising concerns on protecting Cameroon's rich biodiversity threatened by human activity and global warming. Actions to avoid depletion intensify. Good evening and thanks for joining us on this 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
On the 7:30 p.m. newscast tonight, President Paul Biya has granted audience to the French ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Christophe Guilou. In 2 hours, the head of state and the French diplomat discussed bilateral relations between France and Cameroon, the country's COVID-19 response strategy, and the socio-political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. Senior State House correspondent Ashu Nienti reports that human rights issues also featured in their exchange.
It is another day of routine business at the Unity Palace. This top French diplomat, Ambassador Christophe Guilou, is calling on President Paul Biya for the second time in less than 2 months. He is thus one of those foreign diplomats keeping regular contacts and consults with President Paul Biya to advance the course of bilateral relations between their 2 countries.
Excellence Christophe Guilou, Ambassadeur de France. Ambassadeur, soyez le bienvenu.
This 5th of June 2020, the representative of President Emmanuel Macron and President Paul Biya for close to 2 hours have much on their slate. The 2 personalities review a wide range of strategic issues and health concerns.
We discussed about bilateral relations, obviously, and the way to enhance them. We discussed about strategies regarding the fight against COVID-19. We had extensive talks about the situation in the country, the situation in the northwest, southwest region.
Interestingly, human rights interests do not elude their attention, especially the death of a southwest-based journalist while in detention.
And I express my emotion following the death of one of your colleagues, Samuel Ouazizi. So the president told me that he would direct an investigation to clear the conditions and to have full detail of what happened to Samuel Ouazizi. So I encourage him to make all the light on this tragedy.
The 2 dignitaries note a convergence of views on the major issues of their discussion, indicating a bright diplomatic sky between Paris and Yaoundé.
In a separate audience, President Paul Biya received the outgone ambassador to Cameroon from Korea, Her Excellency Ryu Bok-ryol. Ending her 2-year diplomatic mission in Cameroon, the ambassador praised for her intense diplomatic activity in the domains of health, education, and information communication technology, came to bid farewell to His Excellency Paul Biya. Ashu Nienti once again with the details.
On the heels of the French ambassador comes outgoing Korean ambassador Ryu Bok-ryol, who first presented a letters of credence to President Paul Biya on Thursday, 5th July 2018, effectively marking the start of her diplomatic tour of duty. It is only befitting that at the end of her diplomatic sojourn, she comes this June 5th, 2020, to bid farewell to the principal artisan of Cameroon's diplomacy.
Son Excellence Madame Bok-ryol, Ambassadeur de la République de Corée.
She has been here for 2 years, and for all this while, she has been a discreet but efficient friend of Cameroon. During this farewell audience, President Paul Biya and the Korean diplomat discussed the depth of their country's bilateral relations and expressed the wish that this will be deepened, even with Madame Riol's successor. The outgoing Korean ambassador leaves Cameroon, knowing that she has done her best to cement the good relations that bind Yaoundé and Seoul.
Away from the Unity Palace, education authorities in Cameroon have been invited to maintain the strict respect of barrier measures against the coronavirus in schools across the country. This is one of the recommendations of the interministerial meeting to monitor the government's response strategy. Prime Minister Joseph John Goute presided over yesterday via video conferencing. Christian Cheatham reports that the new opening of the no-treatment centers in the country is underway.
Last Monday's resumption of classes after a 2-month suspension provoked by the COVID-19 pandemic was a delicate operation given the context under which it took place, a context marked by increasing number of cases of the coronavirus in Cameroon. But the resumption has now been judged successful and effective in all the 10 regions of the country. Parents have for the most part consented with the government's decision by sending their children to school. During yesterday's interministerial meeting, Prime Minister Joseph John Goute congratulated the ministers in charge of the different levels of education for the measures put in place to ensure a healthy learning environment. He called on them to maintain the standards and to ensure that all primary, secondary, and university students across the country have access to cleaning kits, face masks, and benefit from social distancing measures while in school. The Prime Minister also enjoined the ministers of the education sector to insist on the measurement of temperature before students are allowed on campus and to set up, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, a mechanism to promptly follow up any suspected cases of COVID-19 infection while in school. Joseph John Goute also called for the strict respect of the calendar which is guiding this last term of the 2019-2020 school year in Cameroon. From yesterday's meeting, it emerged that the number of treatment centers dedicated to the follow-up of COVID-19 cases in Cameroon keeps increasing, with one new center opened in Yassa in Douala and one more to be opened in Yaoundé, while 7 private hospitals have also indicated their willingness to join the government in this fight. It was also revealed during the meeting that a third contingent of Cameroonians blocked outside the country will be flown into Cameroon in the weeks ahead.
Still in education, the evaluation system of the Higher National Diploma (HND) and the Advanced Vocational Diploma or Brevet des Techniciens Supérieurs has been revised by the Ministry of Higher Education. To obtain their diplomas, the students are henceforth expected to carry out an internship at the end of the academic year. The resolution was taken today during a seminar grouping administrative heads of institutions of higher learning, as we hear in this report by Natasha Lehman.
The Higher National Diploma HND and Brevet des Techniciens Supérieurs BTS have been modified in the way they are to be issued. The evaluation system will no longer be based on calculating the total average score of each aspiring holder, as was in previous years. Furthermore, the sustainability education system known as internship becomes obligatory for all the students writing HND and BTS.
This seminar is to resolve a problem of confusion, misinterpretation, and different fallacies that have existed. Formerly, they used to evaluate the students based on the average system, where they did a calculation of all the marks and then cut the average to get a pass. But this time around, we moved on to something else. A student must pass in all the subjects, to insist that we should move away from too much of literature to practical action in the field. So one of the issues raised would be the internship programs where students are called upon. It is obligatory for students to adequately do concrete work in the field which is relative or related to what they are studying in this institution.
The revision of the Higher National Diploma and Brevet d'études scientifiques comes after officials in the sector brainstormed in Yaoundé today. The school authorities are thus expected to communicate the changes to students in their respective schools and centers. This in order that everyone is at the same level of the comprehension of the new dispensation, and so misunderstandings are avoided for candidates when results are eventually published.
As announced in one of our top stories, civil servants in their hundreds have been trooping into makeshift COVID-19 testing units at the multi-purpose sports complex in Yaoundé. The free screening organized by the Ministry of Public Health is intended to help Cameroonians know their COVID-19 status on time and to narrow the curve of contaminations. Board and Summer reports that workers from different administrations take turns in the mounted tents to get tested.
Seated under different tents with their face masks worn, the anxiety is telling of how willing they each are to know their status. Upon arrival, they are welcomed by a team of health professionals who guide them and advise them on what to do. One after the other, they move to particular tents where they are received. Questions are asked and answers are given, with some doctors who take time to disinfect the environment, and the gates are closed with some who are still willing locked outside.
Before they get in here, there is a briefing that they have before their samples are being collected. They tell them the different measures in such a way that even if you are negative, it doesn't mean you're safe. From the youth to the elderly, everyone wants to be screened, given that the virus knows no age. Over 80 health professionals work here daily from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. as they themselves get disinfected regularly. Most who come here to be screened are sent by the different administrations.
Yesterday we got information that we are supposed to be here early this morning in order for us to know our various stages. The anxiety is very high because it is something we expected.
After their samples have been collected, they will have to wait for their results to be sent, just like this one, through a text message.
The sum of 6.3 billion CFA francs has been disbursed by the African Development Bank to support efforts to stem the ravaging coronavirus in the Central African sub-region. The decision was taken during the board meeting of the financial institution to enable the sub-region adequately respond to the novel coronavirus pandemic. Clarice Aritakan reports on the move, which will guarantee that economies rebound as swiftly as possible.
The reinforcement of health systems through the development of logistics and better governance in response to the fight against COVID-19 with effective regional coordination. These are the two areas the more than 6.3 billion CFA francs from the African Development Bank will focus on. The aim is to provide a platform for a regional approach to check the spread of the coronavirus in the Central African sub-region and the DR Congo. Through the program, health structures will be supplied with protective equipment for frontline personnel, sanitation and test kits, and the care of severe cases. The renovation and equipping of laboratories and health centers is equally envisaged, as well as the putting in place of a system of alert in the SAMAC zone and sensitization activities. For its part, the governance component will require that the Organization for the Coordination of the Fight Against Endemics in Central Africa works in collaboration with the WHO as an executing agency. The objective is to improve COVID-19 prevention and control. Surveys from the SAMAC Commission indicate that the Central African sub-region has reported some 13,177 COVID-19 cases, 5,419 recoveries, and 322 deaths by the 2nd of June 2020.
Still on COVID-19 assistance, the National Assembly of Cameroon has received 10,000 face masks and thermometers from the Virgin Urban Construction Group charged with the building of the new National Assembly headquarters. House Speaker Honorable Kavaige Jibril applauded the gesture, which comes barely days to the start of the June session. Meanwhile, all is almost set at the conference center in Yaoundé, where the June session of the National Assembly will hold due to construction works at the Ngwa-Ikele site. Details of these and other activities at the National Assembly in this report. The 10,000 surgical face masks and 10 medical infrared thermometers symbolically handed over to the Senior Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Ilaroy Tong, by the Virgin Urban Construction Group General Manager, Kui Jingpeng, is a translation of China's volition to stem the spread of the contagious virus in Cameroon.
10 pistolet to measure temperature. This is to help the Cameroonian people to fight the coronavirus.
The timeliness of the gesture, which is a demonstration of the friendly ties between Cameroon and China, was applauded by House Speaker Honorable Kawege Jibril, as it will shield the institution staff and the elected representatives from the pandemic. As they briefly discussed on the evolution of the construction work on the new National Assembly edifice, an inspection was made to the conference center in Yaoundé, where for the first time since the creation of the National Assembly in 1965, parliamentary activity will be holding away from its headquarters. Honorable Ilaron Itong praised the apportionments proposed by the Director General of the Conference Center, Christophe Mienzok, and the Clerk of the National Assembly, Gaston Kumba. The offices of the Speaker and his deputies, Commission halls and House Chamber are all nearly set for the opening of the June session next Tuesday.
Everything is ready. We have all the structure to be sure that the work is going to do in the best condition. We do it about for 1 month.
Meantime, the annual capacity building for the staff of the National Assembly rounded off with the 150 personnel empowered in 10 days on techniques on note-taking, documentary research, comparative law, and the mastery of the standing orders of the National Assembly.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
We now take you to the regions where primary schools in the Bamenda 2 Council area have been handed over didactic material worth 11 million CFA francs. The administrative staff of the 27 primary schools were enjoined by the Mayor, PATYCHOU, to make education their priority and to ensure that pupils attend classes effectively. Karin Tosam tells us more.
The didactic materials consisted of cartoons of chalk, exercise books, first aid kits and some anti-COVID-19 sanitary equipment among others. The gifts worth some 11 million francs CFA from the Bamenda 2 Council are not just meant to assist the teachers better prepare pupils for end-of-year examinations, but also to mold quality pupils.
In the Northwest as a whole, we don't have companies like Douala and Yaoundé and other areas. The only company in this region is education. So the council is very necessary to assist the community, to assist the head teachers to pick up with schools.
27 beneficiary schools believe that the materials will help address the problems of shortage and will be a push for them to better deliver their services.
As the teachers are going to prepare these students for their exams, there's no complaint of this is short or that is short, and I'm very confident of what they are going to do. The
ceremony was also an opportunity for the spokesperson of the head teachers to address some of their worries to the mayor, who promised a solution to the problem highlighted. The occasion also coincided with Mayor Chengwe Peter's 100th day in office.
In one of our top stories, Cameroon joins the international community today to celebrate World Environment Day on the theme Biodiversity, a concern that is both urgent and existential. On the occasion, the Minister of the Environment and Nature Protection, Hilly Pierre, outlined in a declaration to the press that Cameroon's rich biodiversity threatened by excess human activity and global warming must be protected. Joyce Kimbi-Fuaju has the details.
Volumes of policy speeches and slogans in the past years have insisted that Cameroon's environmental wealth is continuously being threatened by overpopulation, pollution, urbanization, deforestation, wildlife crimes and global warming, putting at risk the country's biodiversity that is the source for population's livelihood. The World Environment Day is again being used by the Minister of Environment and Nature Protection, Hilly Pierre, as a platform to raise awareness.
Protecting environment is our food, is our health.
In collaboration with national and international structures, several measures are being implemented to safeguard the country's biodiversity wealth.
Any activity that has an impact on biodiversity, on the environment, should be subject to an environmental impact assessment. We have a lot of road construction going on. We have plantations that are being opened up. We have companies that are setting up. We need to know what they are doing and what the impact of the activities will be on the environment.
The 2020 World Environment Day is being marked at a time that the country, as the world over, is faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the environment is also faced with the sustainable disposal of used face masks.
In order to protect biodiversity, to dispose of their mask in a plastic bag.
Though no popular ceremonies were organized, the Minister of Environment used this press briefing to reiterate that biodiversity remains an urgent need for Cameroonians.
In the Northwest region, environmental experts have cited uncontrolled grazing, encroachments on water catchment areas, and poor waste management as factors responsible for a depleted biodiversity. Working in synergy with non-governmental organizations and other stakeholders, the Northwest Regional Delegation of Nature Protection and the Environment has been designing ways to address the situation. Orlan Titaki tells us more.
Pre-conflict statistics in the Northwest region indicate a population of close to 2 million inhabitants squeezed within a surface area of less than 18,000 kilometers. Limited land for man and animals results in illogical encroachment into water bodies. The Northwest Delegation of the Environment, Protection of Nature and Sustainable Development has partnered with the region's development authority, Midino, whose general manager details an extensive tree planting exercise to preserve the ecosystem. Last year, we distributed over 6,600 environmentally friendly trees to farmers for agroforestry and water catchment protection. This year, we shall be stepping it up to 11,500 trees. The Northwest Regional Delegate for the Environment says his delegation has dissolved its powers of waste management and control of marshy areas to local councils.
We have also linked up with the councils for the drive, the control, seizure, and fines on plastic packaging below 61 micron. Despite these concerted actions, environmental experts have pointed to a lack of collaboration from the population. They expect the population to improve on their waste management mentality, limit farmer-grazier conflict, and avoid deforestation.
Back to COVID-19 as government maps out strategies to limit the spread of COVID-19 in the country by decentralizing screening centers. The Minister of Public Health, Manawuda Malashi, has just ended a meeting with public health experts on the management of the virus. We now head on to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, where Baldwin Sammer is on standby with the latest. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kim, and welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center this Friday evening, where the meeting that was presided over by the Minister for Public Health, Dr. Malachi Manawuda, just ended a meeting with the public health experts, and it has been disclosed during that meeting, there was a press briefing immediately at the end of that meeting, a press briefing by the Minister of Public Health, who has informed us that out of over 900 samples collected and tested today, 248 Cameroonians have been infected with COVID-19 in the country this Friday, with 205 Cameroonians who have died of COVID-19 ever since we have had this pandemic in the country. And just this Friday, we have had 127 recoveries from COVID-19 in the country. And Esther, if we should add the 127 Cameroonians who have recovered from COVID-19 to the other numbers that we've been announcing here over CRTV, it gives us 4,702 Cameroonians so far who have recovered from COVID-19. And equally, during the press briefing by the Minister for Public Health, he informed us that we have only 2,800 active cases as far as persons infected with COVID-19 in the country is concerned. And with our resource person tonight, Dr. Joseph Fokam, who is a virologist, we shall be looking at how to avoid stigmatization, given that most persons who have recovered from COVID-19 have been victims of stigmatization as far as the society is concerned. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Badi.
We've noticed that we've had mixed reactions from the society, from the public, vis-a-vis those who recover from COVID-19. What accounts for that?
Yes, effectively, so many Cameroonians considered people who were positive for COVID-19 as worthy of disgrace, and these people are experiencing stigma in our community. Whereas out of the 7,400 positive results so far, more than 60% of these patients have recovered effectively, meaning that they can no more transmit the virus, they no more have the virus per se. And in this context, for those who have a positive COVID-19 result, in a matter of 2 weeks, maximum 3, they are negative and they can no more transmit the virus. So normally, we shouldn't get afraid of anyone who was positive and actually has a negative result value.
When we talk about the stigmatization, for somebody who is another because they recover from COVID-19, can that be attributed to ignorance as far as this disease is concerned?
I think generally it's a matter of ignorance. It's also a matter of fear, because COVID-19 was presented as a fatal disease, whereas, as I rightly mentioned, once you have a positive COVID-19 result, 2 weeks after your symptoms onset, you are likely to become negative because you have developed antibodies against COVID-19. And as I rightly mentioned also, maximum 3 weeks, maximum 4 weeks, the viral shedding has decreased, and this patient is no more infectious. This patient can return back to work. This patient can resume back activities normally.
And very briefly, finally, Doctor, what do Cameroonians need to know about this disease?
Okay. Cameroonians need to simply understand that if you are a positive COVID-19 case, 1, make sure you get tested. 2, stay on confinement. 3, once your result is negative, then you can no more transmit the virus, you can resume back activities without any problem, and people should consider you like a normal person who has never been infected.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for being our guest this evening. And during the press briefing, the Minister of Public Health talked about the idea by the government to decentralize the screening process by creating more screening centers in the country, in the villages, in the subdivisions, to permit many Cameroonians to have themselves screened, just like the case in the nation's capital city, Yaoundé, where we have over 6 screening centers, like the one at the multipurpose sports complex, and equally disclosed that the government is working very closely with some private hospitals in the country. About 7 of them are really willing to work closely with the government as far as the treatment of COVID-19 cases in the country is concerned. And the minister also announced that the government has purchased over 100,000 rapid test kits. That will go a long way to permit many Cameroonians to be screened and get to know more about their status. And he equally talked about an imminent third phase as far as the repatriation of some Cameroonians who have been stranded out of the country due to the COVID-19 spread initiated by the government of Cameroon. So the take-home message from here this evening is that we have had 248 confirmed cases of Cameroonians with COVID-19 this Friday, with 127 recoveries from the virus. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks very much, Baldwin, for those words of hope. We now take you to Monatele, where the elite of Leke Division in the Centre region has joined persons of goodwill to bar the way to the coronavirus in their locality. In an initiative led by the Minister in charge of Special Duties at the Presidency of the Republic, Benoit Ndong Sumet, hygiene kits and food items were donated to 9 councils in the area. Gilbert Ongene reports on the distribution exercise.
The hygiene kits and food items, evaluated to cost some 290 million CFA francs, comprise of disinfectants, cartons of soap, buckets, face masks, hand sanitizers, bags of rice, cartons of cooking oil, among others.
This has been done to support the population, chiefly the poor population.
Coming at a time pupils and students of examination classes have resumed school for the 3rd term, the beneficiaries say it's salutary.
Those gifts arrive at the specific time because we are observing the regaining of the COVID-19 in our council.
These gifts are coming at the right time because we have been receiving a lot of demand coming from the director of school asking for assistance.
All those who attended the event hailed the gesture, which comes to complement and strengthen the special package from the President of the Republic. The mayors of the 9 councils of the Leke now have the arduous task of ensuring that the gifts are shared out to persons and structures for which they are destined.
Onto parliamentary news, members of parliament are being schooled on the functions and activities of legislators within a decentralized system. This is in the course of a 3-day seminar organized in Yaoundé. Their actions, such as controlling government action and their prerogatives in development, came under review, as we hear in this report by Kilian Ndandifon.
Parliamentarians, be they members of the National Assembly or senators in the Cameroonian bicameral parliament, come from different backgrounds, some of them with little knowledge on the functioning of lawmaking, so their capacities need to be leveled.
Parliamentarians are people who come from different walks of life, such as farmers, business persons, and teachers. Our aim of organizing this seminar is to enable parliamentarians fully assume their responsibilities. So, this seminar is to build the capacities of parliamentarians to fully play their role.
Experts in parliamentary business summarize the role in 4 areas.
He is an important actor when the bill is to be adopted. He can control the government action. He can express the expectations of the people of his constituency. The parliamentarian has also an important role in matters related to development.
Some parliamentarians confuse their collaborative role with a supervisory authority over local competent decentralized entities.
The member of parliament can effectively be invited to the local council deliberations, but he cannot vote. The mayor can invite him, but it is not said that the mayor must invite him.
Participants at the end of the first day of the 3-day capacity building seminar were already sincere to acknowledge its usefulness and timeliness.
A new information system to ease customs procedures in Cameroon has been officially launched by the Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Motaze. The platform, conceived through the Korean expertise, provides for better recording and tracking of export operations with effective control of the container loading process. As Clarissa Itakan reports, the scheme will dematerialize the customs sector.
Customs activities made easy. This is the goal officials are hoping to see as more and more users come in contact with the new information system. Import-export transactions will be closely monitored from the data center, whose existence is thanks to Korean expertise in the customs domain. The development of the e-customs app, the construction of data centers in Douala and Yaoundé, and a payment platform are at the heart of the project.
With the old system, our users still had to come to our offices to deposit physically the files that they had. But now everything has to be done electronically, meaning that if the system in Douala is down, Yaoundé just take over automatically.
The dematerialization of customs procedures with the use of the new information system has begun bearing fruits since April 6, 2020. From 1.194 billion CFA francs in the first week, customs revenue from taxes and duties rose to more than 14.687 billion CFA francs by the third week.
One of the issues is how do we satisfy our clients in terms of the delay in procedures. Secondly, how do we secure these operations? When these 2 issues are handled, we think we are on a good footing. Facilitation and security.
With global trade in troubled waters, the customs sector remains one of those the state is counting on to mobilize domestic revenue. The effective use of the new information system is expected to be a great contributing factor in this regard.
And now over in the littoral region, the official launch of the Cameroon Customs Information System named CAMSIS is a new initiative to strengthen the customs administration. The new system has been described by economic operators as time-saving, as we hear in this report by Veronica Benyala.
These two alleged armed robbers intercepted by the police are charged for the robbery in a residence in Yaoundé.
Nous sommes descendus sur le terrain.
On the night of May 19, breaking the 20th, these men invaded the house of the Director of Human Resources of the Yaoundé City Council at Nkolbison. They tortured him and left with valuables.
The act dates back to May 19. Police sources confirmed that they left the house with 3 vehicles, among which this pickup, a flat screen, and the sum of over 600,000 CFA francs, and many other things.
During the investigations, we apprehended the chief of the gang, who led us to the hideout. We were able to lay hands on them, including the materials and the weapons used in robbing.
The individuals, we were told, have been noticed for the regular ransacking of homes in some neighborhoods in the capital city. At the time the suspects await judgment, investigations continue.
As you must have corrected, that report was on the arrest of members of an armed group. Meantime, women's empowerment centers have also resumed training in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. The Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Professor Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondua, made an inspection tour to some of the centers to evaluate the effectiveness of the resumption amidst COVID-19. Joyce Tata tells us more.
A sweet flavor welcomes Madame the Minister to the Yaoundé 5 Women Empowerment Center. Ongoing is a gastronomy lesson coordinated by Chef Lavoisier with an attentive class equipped to keep the coronavirus at bay. The center hosts more than 200 learners who have been subdivided in groups of 25 per class. The minister was pleased with the smooth running of lessons in a safe atmosphere. At the BMRC Women's Empowerment Center, she is received accordingly and is guided to the classrooms to evaluate the respective barrier measures in this center.
First group come from 8 to 10, the next group come from 10 to 12, and the other one from 12 to 2.
Efforts, hierarchy applauds, promising a special aid.
We saw that it was effective in all the 2 centers that we visited, and we were very happy that not only is social distancing respected and the wearing of masks is also effective. At this moment there is another activity, and seamstresses were identified in different strata of our society, and they will be trained on how to make facial mask of quality.
These learners in different fields like decoration, tailoring have about 2 months to wrap up their training, and it is government's wish that they achieve this in safe conditions.
And now on to this good news. CRTV Sports and Entertainment clocks won tomorrow, June 6, 2020. Born out of the ashes of a volition to entertain and to provide live broadcast of sports competitions locally and internationally, the specialized channel has gained repute. The anniversary celebration is built for Saturday and will be done in the strict respect of anti-COVID-19 measures. Romeo Nkenye has the details.
June 6, 2019. June 6, 2020. Exactly 1 year, CRTV Sport and Entertainment has been thrilling its viewers with scintillating sport and entertainment programs. In the likes of Sport Club, Daily Sport, and even live commentaries of major sport events in the country and worldwide.
He comes in with a powerful shot there to give it.
The first major objective was to put it on the airwaves, and we did that, so that was good. The second was to see how we can bring some major competitions at home and abroad to our public That we did for some competitions, the Women's World Cup, the African Cup of Nations, the African Volleyball Championship, the World Cup qualifying for basketball. We've had futsal, we've had beach soccer, all on the airwaves. We've had athletics, and so on and so forth.
Management has decided to make the celebrations low-key due to the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic.
We could not organize our first-year activities like we would have loved to. We wanted to organize football games, handball, basketball, and the other disciplines.
The notion to set up this sport and entertainment channel was nurtured in 2015. It was later on matured 4 years after. Special magazines and documentaries are being broadcast as part of anniversary celebration with best wishes from artists and sport actors.
And it is on that note that we wrap up this edition of the 7:30 News, in which you heard that President Paul Biya has granted 2 separate audiences to the French ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Christophe Guilou, and to the outgone Korean ambassador, Her Excellency Ryu Bok-ryul.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing